Hey guys, it is Gareth, also known as GPC, and I am bringing you my draft analysis for Season 4 of the GPC with my new team, the Crawthorne Crabhammers. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, the GPC sort of format has changed slightly. We went from having 2 divisions of 8 people that were, which was a general draft pool, and there was 7 weeks in play, and then you'd have the playoffs and things. Now it's 10 people per division, and the drafts are division exclusive. The playoffs still will be between the 2 divisions, but it allowed for more variety in the sort of high tier mons that we brought, and for that reason the prizes were increased, so a lot of big name mons weren't picked up. Things like Mew, and I believe Jirachi as well in Division B weren't drafted. But yeah, as I just said, I'm in Division B. I was last pick, so I got a snaking draft, so I essentially got the 10th pick in the 1st, 3rd, 5th and 7th round, and 9th as well. And all the even ones I got first pick, so I essentially got 2 months at a time. Whilst I do like that, I was absolutely terrified of getting my first pick sniped, because it's a mon that I've wanted for a while now. But thankfully that didn't happen, and I'll go over my team as it goes in the order that I drafted them. Starting off, of course, with the mon that I wanted last season, and the mon that I've finally got my hands on. It's Latias, probably my favourite OU Pokemon. One of the reasons why I wanted Latias, which I will be nicknaming Calamite, referencing of course the Black Dragon in Dark Souls, because a lot of my references will either be Dark Souls or mythology. That's just how it goes. So the reason I wanted it was simply because I believe in versatility being the strongest thing in the format. It makes sense because it's harder for your opponent to prep for. So having a mon that can be used offensively and defensively very well is huge, and Latias does that brilliantly. It's got massive special defense stats, it's got a decent defense and HP stat, it's got great speed, it's got decent special attack. It's a mon that has good offensive and defensive move pools with things like Healing Wish. It gets decent coverage as well with Surf, with Dragon Pulse, with Psychic Stab. So that's just all off the top of my head. It gets T-Wave as well, which is of course the best move in the game. It's also a potential hazard remover, and it has access to recovery, so it's just a mon that all around is a fantastic pickup. I'm absolutely flabbergasted that it got through to 10th pick, and I'm absolutely it just makes me so happy that I got my hands on it. One thing I didn't want to do with Latias was have it forced into the defogging role every week, and for that reason I picked up another hazard remover in Crobat. Now, Crobat, similarly to Latias, can be used offensively and defensively. In that regard, it's very versatile. And once again, it's got stupidly high speed. Base 130 is nothing to laugh at. Crobat I will be nicknaming Shash, referencing the Werven Rider in Fire Emblem, of course, who is Bay in that game. If you say otherwise, you're wrong. But yeah, it's a mon that can be used offensively and defensively again, has hazard removal and recovery similarly to Latias. Its base speed allows it to, if you want to run it offensively, there's no need to scarf it because it's just that fast. It can also be run on the special side if you're running the Nasty Bat set and you're a man. Very much doubt I will, but it's very matchup based, as every set that you bring will be. And it's just another mon that's versatile in its own right, and I can't wait to use it, because it's one of those mons that I've seen used time and time again effectively, and that I have wanted to pick up, on my first season but couldn't. Continuing on with the theme of offensive and defensive potential and versatility, we have, in my opinion, one of the best steel types, if not the best steel type, in Chameleon. Now, once again, the prices of everything were bumped up a bit, so going for UU mons for me was sort of like the plan of attack for my main core, because they're slightly cheaper than the OU ones, and they're still very effective in the format. Cobalion. Now, sorry if you hear me sniffling and coughing and things, I'm a bit bunged up at the moment. Now, if you look at its stats, 90 attack and 90 special attack isn't the best, but it's more than usable. It's got 91 HP and 129 defense, which is no joke at all. It's very capable in that regard. It can be run specially defensive, but there's more to sort of balance out the defenses. And 108 speed, once again, is no joke. So if you look at the team so far, I'm going for offensive and defensive potential with speed. This mon has hazard setup potential with stealth rocks, of course. It's got a fantastic synergy with Latias. The only weakness that they don't cover is Ghost, I believe, for Latias, and Fairy. That's it. Which I have other things for, of course, which I will get to in a bit. It's got setup for both sides. It can be Swords Dance, it can be Calm Mind. It's got Magnet Rise, which is a fantastic move to have on a Steel type, of course. Which you can play around with some shenanigans with that if they've got something like a Mamoswine or something like that. You can run, I don't know, just Magnet Rise and completely wall it. That's the sort of thing that Cobalion does. Moving on to my fourth pick, once again, following the theme of offensive and defensive potential, I wanted a fire type, and the first thing that popped to mind was Arcanine. Now, I thought 4th round was a bit early for Arcanine, and I was thinking, no, I might leave it a bit later, until somebody picked it up in that round, and it sort of hit me that this draft, because of how it was more pricey, meant that the priorities were different, and so Arcanine going round 4 was a big thing, and I wanted to ensure that I got my fire type, and I'm more than happy to say that I got a very good one in Entei. Entei might not have the defensive potential that Arcanine does, because it doesn't have Intimidate. However, it's got, I believe, a better HP stat and more or less a better attack stat. It can be used as a very powerful physical wall breaker. Banded Sacred Fire is very hard to deal with for some teams. It's got decent speed, it's got good bulk. It can be run defensively as well with Willow, Roar. I mean, it gets Rest, but you don't want to have to rely on that unless you're running a Resto Chesto set. And when you think back to Shady getting swept in the GBA, it can be run especially as well. Versatility is the name of the game here. Entei is one of my favourite designs in terms of legendary Pokemon. And it's one of those mons that I've wanted to use for a while now, and I think fits in brilliantly on this team. Now, the 5th pick, I wanted Florges initially. It was cheap-ish, you know, it's 11 points, which isn't too bad. And I was thinking to myself, I can get it this round, I'll be happy. And then somebody took Florges, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Jesse maybe, I don't know. And I had to sort of rethink my sort of plan, and I ended up noticing that one mon in particular wasn't taken, which surprised me completely with the fact that somebody took Florges. Granted, it is 7 points more expensive, it is quite a pricey mon, but I feel it has its place on this team, and completing our Dragon Fairy Steel Core, we have Sylveon, which, oh, I forgot to say that Cobalion would be called Asgore, Entei will be called Cerberus, and Sylveon will be called Sif, all references to either games or mythology as always. Sylveon, going back to this magnificent creature, it is one of the most potent fairies in the format for sure. It's another mon that can be run offensively and defensively. That's 5 so far. There will be a couple of others coming up that have a similar role. It has a decent offensive move pool with Shadow Ball, Side Shock and Hyper Voice. That's decent-ish coverage. It's usable. It's also got a very good supportive moveset with Wish and Heal Bell, of course, which is sort of like the more expected set. But it is a mon that I will be changing up depending on matchup. I mean, you can run it banded for all I know with Double Edge to get that nice pixelate boost, but once again, it's all matchup based, and it's another mon that I can see having its uses depending on the matchups. 6th pick, we have Rotom Lemao, Rotom Mo, which I will be called Trimsk Rotom, of course. If I've got a Rotom, it's going to be and take on Rotom, and because it's a mower, it's trimmed. Like all the other Rotom forms, aside from its base form, it can be run offensively and defensively. It's got access to Volt Switch, which, if you know me, you know I love momentum switch up. Last season it was one of the big things that I used to gain early momentum in matches, and it's one of the things that I'll probably use this season. It's just, I love it. The grass and electric coverage is huge against many bulky water types, because it deals with things like Gyarados and things like Swampert at the same time. Now granted, in terms of a defensive grass type, it doesn't have Leech Seed, which all the other defensive grass types have, which is unfortunate. However, it does have Will-O-Wisp, which is a fantastic defensive move, and I can see it coming in very handy this season. It's also a fantastic Scarfer, which is kind of something that my team needed. I do have Cobalion, Entei, and Latias that can all be Scarfed, of course. This is one that fits into that Scarfer role brilliantly, so it's all looking fine and dandy so far. I've got pretty much what I wanted. I had to swap Arcanine for Entei and Florges for Sylveon, but I think those are decent trades. And at this point, I was looking for a Mega. My first thought was Absol, and then I thought that I didn't want something that's fast and frail. I wanted something that could be used once again offensively and defensively, that had a special potential similarly to Absol, and for that reason I picked up Mega Tyranitar. Now this is a mon that's been rarely seen in League format for the fact that its non-Mega counterpart is still very strong and has more variability in the sets, because it can be run Scarved, it can be run Smooth Rock, it can be run this or that. But I think the Mega still has fantastic potential, with access to great offensive moves on both sides. It can be run physically offensive, it can be run specially offensive, it can be run mixed. That's what I wanted out of this mod. That's the same role that Absol would fulfill, except for it's got more bulk, and it's got better setup in my opinion, because it's got Dragon Dance, which is probably the best setup move, aside from Quiver Dance, which is sort of like the special counterpart. But yeah, that in terms of physical mon, Dragon Dance is one of the best setup moves, and it gets it, and depending on matchups that can just sweep through teams. It's also decently defensive, it's got great stats, that 164 base attack is nothing to mess with, it's got great bulk in terms of its stats as well, it's got access to rocks, it can be used in multiple ways, and that's what I want out of my mons. It is quite a hefty price of 15 points, which is quite a shame. However, I feel that it will have its uses, and it will feature on most of my teams. Now, we're going into the lower end of the draft. At this point, I only have 8 points remaining, which means either 2 NUA picks, 1 NUA, 2 NUB, or 4 NUB, basically. I decided to go with 1 and 2. My NUA pick was Poliwrath. Now I needed a bulky water type, and Poliwrath is a very cheap and a very good bulky water type. 90 HP and 95 in defense, 90 in special defense is no joke. That's decent bulk, if you know. I will easily settle for that. It's got water immunity, similarly to Lanternwood, but I didn't need another electric type. It would have given me another ground weakness, which isn't what I want. Poliwrath just seemed to fit the role a lot better. It's got a very decent offensive move pool on both special and the physical side. It's got Focus Punch, which is the manliest move in the game, and you know me, I'm a man, so I might bring unprotected Focus Punch one week and just catch someone on the switch, I don't know. Well, it also has access to setup with Bulk Up and Belly Drum. I very much doubt I'll bring a Belly Drum set unless it's a week where somebody's got an extremely slow team and I can sort of stomp on him with it, but I doubt it. It also has access to Priority, which is always very useful. Maybe on one of those weeks where I bring it specially, I will use it. But it's just one of those mons that'll sit there and can just be a nuisance to the opponent's team, and that's what I want from this slot. I wanted something that's a nuisance to deal with. Now, for my 2 lower end picks, These are two 2-pointers, and they're two mons. One of them is the one that I feel is criminally undervalued in the League format, and one is just my personal love, and that love is Glaceon. Now, it is by far my favourite Pokemon design. I don't know why, I just love it. I love this mon and everything it stands for. Basically, 80% of my PU teams have it on there. That base 130 special attack stat is no joke, of course. The only thing that's holding it back is its move pool. I dream of the day it gets freeze dry. That would be possibly the biggest change this one will ever have. It might go up to a new, maybe even RU. But I feel in certain matchups it can put in more than enough work. It's got surprisingly good bulk to say that it looks like a little frail cat thing. It's got decent HP, but its defense and special defense stats are respectable, to say the least. It's also another potential cleric with Heal Bell, and it's also got Wish once again. It's just one of those mons that I absolutely adore. I know for sure it's my favourite design. Whether it's my favourite mon or not, that's debatable, but it's definitely up there, and it's one of those mons that I want to show is worth having on your team, and I want to show that it is usable in this format. That is one of the reasons why it's here. Now, my last pick, I was considering Stoutland to go with Mega T-Tar, but it's just something you see all too often, and I wanted something that packed a bit more of a punch, and something that filled a similar role and did exactly what I wanted, was Ursaring. Now, it's got two very useful abilities in Guts and Quick Feet, which allows for a little bit of footsies with the opponent. It brings great offensive pressure, to say that it's only 2 points. It's got base 130 attack, add a Guts boost to it, add a Facade to that, and bam, that's hitting hard. It's got setup potential with Bulk Up and Swords Dance, of course. Should I be running like a Quick Feet set, I might go for a Swords Dance, and if I'm running a bulky Guts, Rest Sleep Talk set, you can run Bulk Up. It's one of those mons that I feel is criminally undervalued and can be used similarly to Glaceon, but this one has a better move pool. It's just a wall breaker. It can hopefully run through certain teams. I can't wait to use it, and I can't wait to show how good some of these mons are. Alright, so that's my team. Let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Let me know if you would change anything, what you would change. My first week matchup is against Rufus, who you know is sort of like my rival, shall we say. We're big. We were both debutants last season. I won that one. I had a good matchup against him. This season is a lot closer. The matchup is a lot closer. It's still a bit in my favour, I'd say. But I've always liked to draft sort of like a pressuring team, and Rufus doesn't always deal too well with that. So it's just a matter of hitting my stone hedges. On that note, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you for the first week of the GPC, coming not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. Thank you. Bye-bye.